My name Dr. Naim Dallal, and I'm Iraqi Jew.
I was born in Baghdad in 1923. By the 1930s, the Jewish population in Baghdad was thriving. However, that community is no more. The members of this community, as a result of persecution, are now dispersed all around the world. I am a part of that scattering. My personal story is very much tied to the story of my community. I will start at the beginning. My father, Yosef, was a commodity broker from Baghdad, and my mother, Rahma, came to Baghdad from Yemen. Her family was one of the richest in Iraq. I had two sisters named Hanina and Salima, as well as two brothers, Alber and Salim. During my youth, I lived a happy and peaceful life. In my later years, I became a dentist and had my own private practice. But on June 1st, 1941, the pogrom in Iraq started against the entire Jewish community. Jews were attacked and murdered on the streets. Buses and cars were stopped, and Jews were singled out and killed. I still recall the sight of corpses and blood on the streets.
I saw during the pogrom, I was riding a bus. So the rioter came and they took everybody out and they killed them. With me, they thought I am Muslim and I ran away. Because the pogrom was in June during the summertime and people, they sleep on the roofs, open air. I tell you, that was terrible because you can hear the scream of people from far away. Please, for the sake of Muhammad, for the sake of Ali, don't kill us.
During this time, I married my wife Renee and had my first son, and we decided we had to leave Iraq. I knew that if my family left, we would never be able to return, and that we'd be leaving behind so much. My mother begged me to stay with tears. I could not convince the rest of my family to follow, and I concluded that there was a very dark future for the Jews in Iraq.
When I was on the plane and the plane took off, really, it was difficult to leave the family. And I looked at the river where we spent our youth, and that was farewell.
Only a few thousand Jews remained in Iraq after the mass departure. For these few thousand, life had hardly improved and discrimination was increasingly rampant. In 1952, we managed to take refuge in London, and there we were stripped of our nationality since we did not go back to Iraq.
Nationality is you born with it. It's not, nobody can take it. And it's, I think it is illegal to say you stripped of your nationality because it belongs to the person.
After moving from England to Israel, where my daughter, Ida, was born, my family ultimately settled in Toronto, Canada, where I attended the University of Toronto to be able to continue my practice in dentistry. I put great efforts into my studies and graduated. In Canada, we also brought into the world two more children, Laura and Steve.
When we came to Canada, we had relatives. From my relatives, they were my father and mother-in-law and my brother-in-law and his wife. So we lived with them. And there were no Iraqi Jews, very few, not less than 10. So we used to meet, and later on, they came from Israel, maybe 40, 50.
While in Canada, we heard news that 9 Jews were hanged in Iraq due to fabricated charges. This was devastating news for the small Iraqi Jewish community in Toronto. We realized we could only fight this if we were organized. So, we formed an association.
We called it the Iraqi Jewish Association. So, Joe and myself, we wrote the constitution of the association. And then we formed maybe 40% or 50, a small group for the high holidays. And luckily that this association grew up to hundreds and recognized by the Congress and by the government. It was a good step. Now I am settled in Canada. After many years of experience in countries where I lived, I didn't forget our culture and the tradition of nearly over 2,500 years. Every Iraqi Jew should teach the children this culture and not to lose it. And I am very, very proud to say I am doing this. I want the culture and traditions of my ancestors and of what I did myself and what others did the same to continue.